Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Candy, and today I'm going to be talking about the someday mentality. I don't know if you guys have ever experienced getting on a roller coaster ride. It's been years for me, but the last ride that I got on was, I believe it was called the Rattler. I don't know if it's still out there, the theme park, and it had the wooden tracks. It was really scary, and as soon as I sat down, they locked me in. I regretted it. I wanted to get off already. But at the same time, it was exciting. It was thrilling. At some point, I remember when it was coming, like the very tip, and then it drops down. The pressure was so strong against my face that I couldn't keep my mouth closed. So a bunch of saliva was flying on my partner, right? But anyway, my point is that those kind of rides, again, they're fun, they're exciting, but they're also scary. I want to use that as an example when it comes to our lives. I no longer do the rides. I developed motion sickness I want to say in my late teens. And so I can't handle them anymore. But I'm going to be asking you some questions throughout this video. And I'll start with this one. Do you see your life more as a safe ride or a ride like on the Rattler? What areas of your life are safer than others? For example, some of us don't have any problems in taking this big risk when it comes to a career move. We will put in our 2 weeks notice at whatever job it's going to be a career that's going to advance us. It's not a problem. Won't even blink. But that same person will be very cautious with their heart, and they'll take very little risk when it comes to relationships. I want to be talking about that someday mentality. And just like the roller coaster passes quickly by, the ride, before you know it, you're already coming in on the station and you're getting off and it's over. That is how life is here on earth. It's temporary, it has its limits. So it's part of being a human being to say that we're born and then we die. And I don't want you to look at that fact as sad or depressing today. I want you to instead of limiting it as paralyzing us, we need to look at our mortality as a reminder that we need to be all that we're called to be. So, because a lot of us, I don't know, I've heard so many throughout the year, this mentality of when my schedule slows down, then I'll get involved in church, or when I have more time, then I'll focus on this or on that. And someday, one day, when and if, for some of us, we need to realize that this is someday, that the life that you're living right now is right here and right now. Someday is right now. Because if we're not careful, that someday mentality is going to rob us of the life that we're living today. So again, someday when whatever we're looking for happens, then we're going to start to live. When everything settles down, then I'll enjoy life. But the truth is that things don't ever settle down. As soon as we get what we want, or we think we get what we want, then we're starting to look for the next big thing that we want. Understand that God didn't design us to simply stand by and watch life pass us and wonder why we're not fulfilled. God created us to take risks in faith and to conquer this giant that paralyzes us called fear. Because a lot of the reasons that we don't live today is because of fear of the unknown, fear of failure, fear of what can happen, fear of what can't happen or won't happen. And so I want to read a scripture. It's in 1 Samuel 17:33. Well, let me give you a background. So what's going on here is that David, he's a teenager and in the Bible, and he is getting ready to fight the giant Goliath. And King Saul and the Israelite army, they're paralyzed in fear. The giant is going to kill them, is defying them, is challenging them. And David says, you know what? I'll do it because God is with me, right? And so I'm going to read the scripture where Saul actually says, what's wrong with you? Be reasonable. Don't be ridiculous. How can a kid like you fight with a man like him? You're only a boy, and he has been in the army since he was a boy. When you think about the perspectives here, there's two different perspectives. We're looking through Saul's perspective and we're looking through David's. Israel, the army, and Saul, the king, they seem to be operating from a basis of reason. And so David is operating on the basis of faith. So when we operate from reason, then you know what? We do see that the giants in our lives are big. But when we operate from faith, we see the opposite, that God is bigger than the giants in our lives. David was looking from what we would call a God level perspective. It wasn't from the ground like the Israelites or like King Saul. So imagine if we were to look at life starting today from a God level perspective. Now, Saul told him, man, don't be ridiculous. And you're going to find out, if you haven't already, that the world, society, people in our lives, they're going to call us ridiculous. And it is ridiculous. It's a ridiculous faith. Is really the only way that we can live this life that God has given us. So, because the world says, don't be ridiculous. Don't stand out. Play it safe. But God doesn't call us to play it safe. God calls us to live by faith. And so there are some things that God has put in your heart to do, but we're playing it safe by riding on those kiddie rides. Imagine an adult in the kiddie rides. How ridiculous is that? God didn't design us for that. Instead, He's calling us to live this abundant life if we get on board and we start to live out in this, what Saul called a ridiculous faith. And so I have a question for you. Are you doing anything in life right now that requires faith? And if no, then why not? Because I want to encourage you to face your fears and experience this abundant life that God has for us. There's another question I have for you. In what area of your life are you suffering from the someday mentality? I know when I was doing this study, I saw a someday mentality in a particular area in my life. And as I was doing it, I had like aha moment, but at the same time, I got emotional because it was like God was also showing me, hey, you need to address this area in your life. God is saying today is your someday. Ask God to help you to break that someday mentality so that you can start living today, right? Whatever that is, whatever that looks like for you. And so I hope this video helps. And if you haven't subscribed, please click the button to subscribe. And as always, do something good for you. And I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.